Mario,
Hello.
is that
Okay.
So we talked about that machlokes, whether a year is 354 days or 365 days. According to Rebbe, it's 365. So technically, a korban that cannot be older than 1 year could be offered in the next year, according to the sheet of Rebbe. It would be still in its first year of life, because he holds that a year is 365. Fine, that resolves the problem of the goat, but par ma ikr lememar. The par does not have to be less than 1 year old. It could be even older. So how do we resolve the issue regarding the par? The Gemara answers, Gzeira par atusor. We kill the par as a Gzeira because we have to kill the goat. We're going to kill an animal because of a Gzeira? The old chatas avrishnasa, a chatas that is beyond its year, it's not put to death. It's sent out to pasture. The Amresh Lakish chatas avrishnasa roino so kiluhi omedes bevesakva is veroya. It goes out to pasture. And Amar Rava, the reason why we kill the animal is gzer mishum takala. Takala means it could lead to a disaster. It could lead to a problem for somebody. What kind of problem? This not. In today's world, we should never utter a neder to be magdish something to the Beis Hamikdash, because if we did, you got to get rid of it. You have to kill the behem if you magdished it. Peros ksus for kalim, if you were magdish fruit or garments or kalim, yirkavu. You got to let them rot. And if it's ma'os to play matris, money or metal, all of these you got to get rid of because of takola. If you keep them around in your possession, it's going to lead to a problem. Now, first, the Gemara defines Ezeu Ikur. Noel Delis Lefanevi Mesamel. It means you put it in an igloo and it dies by itself. Now, Takola Demai, whose problem is this? I Takola da Krova. So, is it because we might make a mistake and offer this animal for a different type of korban than what it is? Every time we send an animal out to pasture, well, until it gets a mum, why aren't we worried then that it's going to be offered as a wrong korban? Now, an animal that was hegdish, until it gets a mum, you're not allowed to shear it or work it. So maybe you have to get rid of the animal because it's a takola. You're going to end up being over naveira of shearing it or working it. So then I feel called riyusnami. Then how come only these? The par of the sort of Yom Kippur, do you have this gzeir that you have to kill them? Any animal that we send out to pasture, we have the same potential problem that we're going to come to shear it or come to work it. So the Gemara says, Lo'ilam takola da krova. The takola is that, yes, we're worried that we're going to come to offer the wrong korban. However, hanach the lavnei akrovin in a loitorid behu. These that really we don't offer as a korban, he doesn't occupy himself with it. The basa krovi he told, but those that he is going to offer, he works, so he's careful that he's not going to be makravit inappropriate. This issue of takola atzma tanoi is a machlokes tanoim. The Tanya Chada, Pesach Shloi Korav Barishon. You've designated an animal to be a korban Pesach, and for some reason you didn't offer it on Pesach Rishon. So you Korav Basheni. You can offer it on the second Pesach Sheni. If you didn't offer it Basheni, you Korav L'Shana Haba. You wait till next year. So this Tana is not concerned about Takola. V'tani Dech Lo Yikrav. says you can't wait till next year. My lav v'takola pligi, and maybe they're arguing in this issue that you're going to come to commit an avera. Morse is low. The kula alma loy chashina l'takola. We're not worried about takola. Here they're arguing in that machlokas we had before whether a year is 354 days or 365 days. We said that even money designated for Pesach, you got to get rid of. But why not? What takola would there be with money? Why could you keep the money till next year? And that wouldn't be telling the machlokas Rabbi the Rabbanon. Comes out that they are arguing in this issue that you have to kill the animals because otherwise it's going to lead to a takola. Shema no, it's a good raya. Mishnah. So the final vidui, balo etzel sarmi, he's already done the vidui on his par, and on the sa'ir for Klal Yisrael. They already shechted the par and the sa'ir. They've already sprinkled the blood in the Kodesh Kadoshim in the Heichal and on the Mizbeach. Now he comes to the sa'ir that is going to be sent out la'azazel, to the desert. The Kohen Gadol leans and makes a vidui. Kachaya oimer. Ano Hashem, chatu avu pashul fanecha amcha beis Yisrael. Ano Hashem. Kaper na lachatoim lavonis v'apshoim shechatu v'sha'avu v'shapashul fanecha amcha beis Yisrael. Kakasu b'sois Moshe avdecha leimor. Ki vayom hazeh yichaper lechem l'taher eschem mikol chatoisechem lifnei Hashem titaru. So the Kohanim v'ha'am, the Kohanim and the people are imdim bazor kashay yishayim Hashem u'meforish. Every time he enunciated the name of Hashem, shu yoytz mipi Kohen Gadol ayu korim. They would bow, mishtachim v'noifim al pneihem v'oimrim baruch Shem kvod malchuso l'olam v'od. Then after the vidui, motzro l'mishayim oilichai. A person was designated to accompany the goat out to the cliffs. The Mishnah says, "Hakol kshein lo yilicho." Everybody is kosher, even a non-Kohen can take him, can be malave him. Elish also according to Gdolim kevav lo yom nichim Yisrael lo yilicho. The Kohen Gadol used to make, the Kohen Dolim would make a minig not to allow a non-Kohen to accompany the sawyer. On Rav Yossi Ma'asav vohilicho arsala. There was the Yisrael Haya. He was not a Kohen. The Keves Ashul, they made a ramp for him to go above the people. When they would pull the goat's hair. Say, get out already, get out already. They wanted to kill the goat off because the goat, the death of the goat is machaper for their chatoim. So it was dangerous for the goat, so they made a ramp so he would go above the people. Now you notice in the Mishnah, Ilu bnei Aaron k'doshecha loy ka'amar. He didn't include the bnei Aaron in his vidui. Mantana. So who is the author of this Mishnah? On Rav Yirmiyah deloik Rav Yehuda. Dik Rav Yehuda ha'amar yesh lem kapor b'sar mishtolech. Rav Yehuda holds that the Kohanim have a kapora in this goat as well. So by Amar Filu Tem Rav Yehuda, you could learn our Mishnah even according to Rav Yehuda. Atu Kohanim lav bichlal amcha Yisrael ninu. Here in this Mishnah, when he says amcha beit Yisrael, includes the Kohanim. Masr l'mishamoy licho. Then they gave the goat to the person who was going to accompany the goat to the cliffs. Torah about an ish. Lachshir says, or even a non-kohen. E.T. Shem Mizum, and he has to be designated from before Yom Kippur. E.T. Vafilu b'Shabbos. E.T. Afilu b'Tumo. Even if it was Tomei. Ish Lachshir Zazar, Pshita, why not? Ma'od is saying a kaporak, since it says atonement. Kamash Malon, E.T. That Kamash Malon, that Yisrael can be the Malava. E.T. Vafilu b'Shabbos. Now, Lamai Yelchasa. Amar Shesh Lomar, Shemai Choy Lamar Kival Ktefo. if the goat couldn't walk, the one who's accompanying him could carry the goat on his shoulders. Kiman de like Rav Nosson. Because the Rav Nosson, Amar Chai Noisis Atzmo. Rav Nosson holds that a live animal you can carry, because a live thing sort of makes himself lighter. So it's not a chiddush according to Rav Nosson. Whereas Afilu Temer Rav Nosson, Chala Shiny, because being weak is chiddush, because he's not Noisis Atzmo. So even according to Rav Nosson, he'd be able to carry it. Am Rav Rafan Zoyser Meres, Eru Voitzol Shabbos V'ner Voitzol Yom Kippur. Rav Rafam learns that there is no Isser Hotzon Yom Kippur. We hold that there is. We hold that Yom Kippur is like Shabbos, not like Rav Rafam. Iti v'afilu b'tuma. L'may hilchasa, Am Rav Sheshes Loy Mashim Nitma Mishalchom Nichnas Tomei Lazar Mishalchom. That if the guy who is designated to be the Mishalech who becomes Tomei, he can go in a state of Tumah into the Azara and walk the goat to the cliffs. Sholus Rabbi Eliezer. Chala Ma'ashir Kivei Aktefu. If the goat got sick, can he carry it on his shoulders? Omer Lahem. Yachal Hu Lahar Kivani Vatem. The goat usually is so strong that you and I can ride on the goat. He didn't give them a straight answer. And we'll see, Rabbi Eliezer doesn't give any straight answers here. Chala Mishalcha. What if the person who's supposed to accompany the goat, gets sick? Can he send it through somebody else? No, you and I, we will all be healthy. He basically diverted their question. Then they get out to the cliffs, and the guy pushes the goat off the cliff. Is he supposed to go down and kill him? Put him a pasuk. The Chachamim gave the answers we want. If the goat was sick, you're allowed to carry him. If the person who normally is going to accompany the goat gets sick, he can appoint another shaliach. If he pushed it off the cliff and he didn't die, he has to go down and kill it. Shalos Rav Eliezer, Ploini, Maulo Elamaba, a certain person who was known to be a Rasha, is he going to have Olam Haba? Rashi says that he's talking about Shlomo Melech. Some say because Shlomo Melech, at the end of his life, either he was a demon went into him, or there's a question about Avodah Zarah with his wives. Omerlehem lo shaltuni ela al ploini. So he answered with a question. Ma'ulat sel roya kivsa min ha'ori. On Shabbos, are you allowed to save? Is the shepherd allowed to save a sheep from a lion? Omerlehem lo shaltuni ela ala kivsa. Why are you asking me only about the sheep? What about saving the shepherd? Would you only ask me about the shepherd? Again, Rabbi Eliezer is avoiding answering all these questions. We'll see in a minute why. Mamzer ma'aleirish, a mamzer, does he inherit his father, even though he's puzzled? Ma'aliyabim, can he do yibum? Ma'alosad is beso. Are you allowed to paint the house of a mamzer bisman hazeh? Is he also supposed to have tsar chorban abayis? Ma'alosad is kivro. Do you put cement on his grave? Now, lo mednei fliegen bidvorim. He didn't answer them all these questions because he didn't know how to answer them. He knew how to answer them. Rabbi Eliezer would only paskin or give an answer if he had heard his Rebbe giving him an answer to these specific questions. Even though he could work out the answers, if he didn't hear it from his Rebbe, b'Mesorah, he would not give an answer. Shala isha chachama as Rabbi Eliezer, a smart woman asked Rabbi Eliezer, there was a cheta egel. L'chora, everyone did the same avera. Some were killed with a sword, some had a magefa. Why were they not killed the same way? Women know how to sew. Their wisdom is in weaving or sewing. They have no shaykhs here in Torah. Itmar, Rav Levi. Chadomar, Rav Levi gave the following answer. Zibech v'kiter b'sayiv. Those that shechted a animal to the egel or burnt incense to the egel. So those are actual acts of avodah zarah that you can be killed, capital punishment for. They were killed b'sayiv. They were killed with the sword. Gifeif v'nishek, if he hugged or kissed the egel, he was killed b'magefa, misas pidei shamay. Somach bilvavo, let's say he was happy in his heart, Godroik, and he got jaundice. V'chadam edim basra b'sayif. If there were witnesses and a warning, they were killed with the sword. Edim below asra, b'misa with the magefa. Lo edim below asra, Badroikin would get the jaundice. The whole Shevet Levi didn't worship Avodah Zarah. Shenemar, vayamod Moshe b'shar machaneh, and he said, Mila Hashem elai, vayavo elav kol bnei Levi. Yosef, Ravina v'kormalai shmaitza. Ravina was learning this sugya. Eitzvei bnei Rav Papa baravel Ravina. Oimer lo aviv li'im lo re'isiv. So the pasuk that talks about Levi seems to imply that some of them did worship Avodah Zarah. So Aviv means Avi Imam Yisrael, his grandfather, who was a Yisrael, the father of his mother, who was not a Levi. Echav mi Imam Yisrael, or he had a stepbrother from his mother who was a Yisrael. Or Banav Bnei Beis from Yisrael, of grandchildren, because one of his daughters married a Yisrael. The Keves Ashulo, they made a ramp because the Babylonians were pulling at the goat. They were not Babylonians, they were Alexandrians. There was a lot of hatred between the two groups. So they called the Alexandrians the Babylonians. Tanya Rabbi Yudoimer, they were Alexandrites. Rabbi Yossi was from Bavel. So he was happy to hear that it wasn't the Babylonians that were doing the improper thing. Tolvat say, they would say, leave already. They would tell the goat, get out. What are you doing here? Why are you delaying with all of our sins for the whole generation? We want you out of here. Okay. So we'll learn tomorrow at 8 o'clock.
Yes, very good. Thank you, Ernie.
Thank you. Sleep well.